Welcome to the Wellness for Women show, where we talk about life, weight loss and everything in between. I'm Faye Caseman, founder of the AAA Way Life and Weight Loss Programme, and I'm here to help you put together the pieces of life and weight loss for one last time. This is an episode of the Wellness for Women show, filmed live in the free Facebook group. Hello, and welcome to the Wellness for Women show. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have the lovely Cathy Watson, who's going to join us. I'll let her introduce herself in a moment. But Cathy is an NLP mindset, archetypal and self-worth coach for overwhelmed mamas. We are very likely to be talking all about breaking the cycle effectively of the past. We want a good old legacy for our kids. We want everything to be about self-love and future generations. And Cathy's got a very strong purpose to help mums who've got those not good enough stories to be able to live a more peaceful, more authentic life. So does that sound like a fair summary, Cathy? Did I miss anything? Tell us all about you. Say hi to anybody who's listening.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Thanks, Faye. Thank you for having me on. We've been talking about this for ages, so I'm glad we're finally doing it. But yeah, my name's Cathy, and I'm the founder of the Conscious Mums Club, and I'm the host of the podcast, the Shouty Mums Club. And I'm very, very passionate about helping mums take the shame out of losing their shit, one episode at a time, because shame is the number one killer of creativity, connection, and confidence, and it stops us from seeing our true worth and how bloody amazing and capable we are. We tend to forget that when we're juggling so many things. So what I'm passionate about is helping mums know that their anger is actually a gift that will set them free. It's trying to tell them something. And so rather than try and tell, all the messaging is about being calm and regulated. And while we need that in our lives, there is an amazing gift in your anger, because it's telling you that you've got unmet needs. It's telling you that there's something wrong. There's boundaries being crossed. You're saying yes when you need to say no. And so, bad moments don't make you a bad mum. And it's being very conscious of why you keep losing your shit. And it's not, it's not your kids, although they don't bloody help. They push all the buttons that you have, but it's generally, from my perspective and the point of view, and from all the training and all the NLP work, they're triggering you to a time when you didn't maybe have the freedom that they have to react the way they do, and so it's highly triggering. And I want you to be conscious of that. So if we can be conscious and curious of why we keep losing our shit, then we can change the way we respond to that and actually have more compassion and empathy for our children when they're losing their shit, so that we don't fall into that chaos, and we're able to stand there and hold space for them. But we have to hold that space for us first.
Yeah, and like you say, that may be because space wasn't held for us when we were little as well, isn't it? Sometimes, again, generationally, we've gone through changes in parenting styles and kids' needs and kids' lives, and our lives are all different compared to when we were kids and to when our parents were kids and everything like that, and all that can come into play, can't it?
Absolutely. And it's easy to say, oh, blame your parents, but ultimately our parents weren't held in their emotions. Emotions were a weakness. So if they didn't have that, it goes back generationally, but if they weren't held in their emotions, if they weren't allowed to, express disappointment or anger or sadness, or they were smacked or sent away, you do what you know, and that's not, anybody's fault. But I know that it's my responsibility to break that cycle. I don't want my kids to have to deal with my shit. I don't want to pass my shit on. I want to give them, as you said, that legacy of love. I want them to know that I respect them and I love them. I love them enough that I'm going to think about the way I respond to my anger and my triggers. But the only way I can do that is if I'm very conscious of them, which is why the Conscious Mums Club is called the Conscious Mums Club. And, I talk about being the shouty mum. My reaction is to shout, which could be confusing to people that see me out on the street. Oh, she's so nice, and she's so, she'd never shout. But in my own home, where I feel it's safe, that comes out, and it's so easily done, and it's always done when I'm overwhelmed, overstimulated. I've got too much on my plate, and my children get the brunt of that frustration because they just ask for that one more piece of you that I can't afford to give away. And it's not really about them. They don't listen. They're not meant to listen. They're kids. They're far more interested in what's on the TV or what's on the iPad or playing with those toys. I don't want to go to bed or get the shoes on for school. And I need to be creative about how I motivate them to do that rather than shaming them for that. But for me to be able to do that, I've got to be my full body, my full self. So yeah, conscious and grounded is key, but that's not always available to us when we live very fast paced, multitasking lives, as you well know.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I definitely remember that. And then, I mean, for me, I was, when I, single mum, obviously dad's still around, but like we're not together. So again, there's an extra dynamic there when you're working full time and you've got a little one. And again, you're juggling and you're rushing from here to there and everywhere, and getting conscious and being conscious about who I am, where I wanted to be, and how I want to be around her has been hugely life-changing, I think, for me and for my daughter. She's not little anymore. She's leaving me to go to university soon, as Cathy knows. I'm about to be an investor, and I'm not ready.
I can't even think that far. I can't even think. She's your whole world. She's your best friend.
And you're crying now. And
your relationship with her is so beautiful. It really is. Like it's wonderful, and it's inspiring. It really is inspiring the way that you talk about. As you said, you never really had to parent her, which is like what? Could you explain that a bit more? But which no one child is the same. They all are uniquely and beautifully different, and one size doesn't fit all. But I think that, and the bond that we have with our children is really important for when we want them to, get the shoes on and do this, and make the right choices and listen and do all those things. It's the bond that we have with them and that connection. Like, her so well and she knows you so well. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that I love the way you talk about Heather, your daughter, and just love it. And I feel you when she's growing up. She's, and I know that for a fact that you have instilled in her such beautiful values, and she knows where her home is. If she ever needs you, you're there. And that's what I want for my girls. I want them to come to me with their problems, not be afraid to tell me something, because I'm, I have been very controlling. I have been very follow my rules, do what I say, or else because I said so. Like things like if I can educate my girls to know that there's a reason why I want you to do this. Mm-hmm. And I understand that you want to do something else, but there's a compromise there. There's a negotiation there, and it isn't snowflakey. It isn't, gentle parenting where we let them get away with everything. It's respect and it's boundaries, and it's, we have to get out the door. And I know you really want to do this right now, but we can pop it there and we'll do that. When we come home from school, you can do that straight away. I'm taking into account her feelings. And I think that mutual respect is so evident in what I see in your relationship. And yeah, I hope that I can make it through the teenage years and have the same. Because
I know that you can, because you are you are conscious, you are aware, isn't it? And that's what changed for me, because when she was little and, primary school kind of age, and I was having to do the school run, try to get to work by a certain time, trying to then park the car, those mornings were bloody stressful, and I was at times the shouty mum, and I didn't like it. And like you say, I definitely had the guilt and shame, and I don't know exactly how I got into that, but it was very much like barking orders, like some kind of military sergeant trying to get her out the door. But when I took a step back and I became conscious of that, and I made the conscious choice to decide that I didn't want to be that way, and I started to look at it from her point of view and to understand her and get awareness of her, so I was conscious of her. That's when our relationship really started to change. And that was because I was introduced to life coaching ultimately. And I had a coaching session because I was worried about the teenage years. And it's like, how the hell am I going to, I was really worried about that and butting heads. And, they just asked a question, well, who do you want to be? And I was like, well, I want to be kind and compassionate. I want us to have a relationship. And that then basically set off, well, how do I do that? And so it changed. And so I don't shout, and I'm not an angry person by sort of nature. I've got quite a high tolerance level. So
Yeah.
if I was stressed and frustrated, you knew that a lot of buttons have been pressed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's also having an awareness about those buttons, but also recognizing when you're getting towards that. So if I have a difficult day now, you know, and I've done this again since she was younger, I will tell her that I'm having a difficult day. If I'm feeling this way. So if I'm a bit shouty today, just ignore me,
Mm.
because sometimes, like I say, it's not her, and it's all about that communication, really, for me.
Yeah. Key and vulnerability. Like, we've always been taught that, sharing your feelings and, not feeling 100% is a weakness. You need to be happy and smiley, and, toxic positivity is, I can't shout about it enough. It is so damaging because we're trying to be happy and smiley and good vibes only. But if that isn't mirroring the inside world and we're just pushing down these other feelings, no wonder they come out explosively and into the faces of the people we love the most. But it's communication is key, but it's having that vulnerability. So like, I'm mum, I'm meant to, yeah, I've got to hold all this together, but you're exactly right. When I share with them, mummy's feeling really overwhelmed right now. The mess in this room, girls, I need you to help me tidy up because I don't want to be that shouty mummy, because that's who I can be that shouty mum, and I can lose my shit and I can say things I don't mean. But I do have a boundary with myself that I try and uphold as much as, as physically possible as I can by doing the work every day to be conscious of what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling it, and where, if I'm not fully feeling my emotions, where they're going to come out explosively. Because mum life is overwhelming, it is overstimulating, I feel stressed a lot. We get blindsided by things all the time, and it's so easy for it to come out. But I and they want to be in your team. They want to support us. They love us. They want to help us. They are, if I say to them and I'm honest and I'm saying, like, mummy's really struggling today, girls, I need you to listen. You should put your shoes away, coats away. I've got something to do at work. I've got this to, they're like, okay, like they understand and they can take that on. Obviously age dependent,
Yeah.
toddlers aren't going to give a shit, and babies don't care. Just give me my milk and rock me to sleep and don't put me down. But when we can share how we're feeling and it isn't a weakness, that vulnerability, and that works so well, because I'm sure you'll find with your daughter and mine, they can say, mummy, I've had a bad day, mummy, I feel like this. They can, because I'm teaching them how I feel, they can share that back with me. And so I can go, okay, darling, what do you need? Or okay, and we can work together. Or sometimes they just come home and they're emotional, like the wheels fall. They've held it on all day. They've done everything they've had to do at school and all the social stuff and all the sitting down and doing their work, and they walk in the door and like all the wheels come off. We're crying, we're shouting. And I'm like, okay, come here. Like, what do or they just need 10 minutes. I'm not taking it personally, because I think that's the other thing. It can, when our kids are shouting or they snap back at us, it can look very disrespectful. But I'm not intentionally, when I lose my shit, trying to be rude or disrespectful or harsh with them, but it comes out that way. So I have to have the empathy and the compassion to be able to hold myself and go, this isn't personal. She's obviously had a bad day. Take a step back, take a breath. And if I can find that the power in the pause, which we talk about a lot in the NLP world and the mindset world, is that, okay, just hang on a minute before we go and join them in the chaos. Like, what is it that they're feeling? It's not personal. Take a step back. And, because the story is so easy to run with that story, that they're ungrateful, they're spoiled, they're naughty, they're bad, they're all those things, when actually that we don't know what's happened to them at school. We don't know, because we're so in our own minds. So it's just having that ability to have the space to see them, because that's all we really want as all of us, all human beings want to be seen, heard, and validated. We want to be seen. And the connection I have with my girls is so important to me because I see them, because I've done the work of, like, if I find myself getting triggered, I can immediately go, when have I felt like this before? And that's something that I share with them often as well, is the Me Too stories. So if they come to me and they say, oh, mummy, I fell over at school today, it was so embarrassing. I go, do you know, I've done that.
Mm.
Or, something that I heard on a Brene Brown, I think it was a courage, forgotten the name, it's gone. But she says, normalize everything. And I think it's one of the best advices I could give to, in all walks of life, but to our children especially, because, if there's, anything, a smell, or as they growing up, a smell or a feeling or a thought or embarrassment's a big key because it starts to make them shrink back a bit. But if I could say I've done that before, and I'll share with them some really embarrassing stuff, and they're like, "Mummy, did that really happen?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then I find that they tell their friends at school, and I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, come
Be
on."
mindful what they tell. They have no filters.
Yeah, funny, because there was a time in my life when I could never speak about the embarrassment, like things that have happened that, God, we never speak about that. It's too painful.
Mm.
But in sharing that, then she'll come to me and like, has that happened to you before? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And it's just, again, that connection is really, really important.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think as well, let's say it's about recognizing the fact that they've been holding their shit together all day. And like you say, their anger is a gift, really, because that's their release, and actually remembering that they're actually sometimes kids act up at home. And I don't know whether it was you I was talking to or somebody else. Were we talking earlier in the week about the fact that, like kids play up more at home than they do at school? I think it was somebody else actually. The kids can, that they can like be little angels at school,
Yeah.
and then they come home and it's like the she devils arrived, and you're just like, why? But
Yeah.
actually, that's because they are in their safe space. And so, although sometimes we might be sat there thinking, Christ, well, what on earth is this all about? Why me? Why have I got to deal with this?
Yeah.
And kind of enter into a bit of victim mode because, it is tough when they're going through that. But
Yeah.
actually, like you say, creating the pause, take a step back and really look at what is this about? Because often we are triggered because, like say, something's happened to us, it's triggering something in us. And it's our reaction to that. Whereas actually, if you can disassociate yourself from that a little bit and look at it from their point of view,
Yeah.
then it makes a difference. And even with toddlers and babies, really, when you think about it, this poor little toddler's going around. It's just this walking ego that just wants this, just wants. It's got no
Yeah.
level of comprehension that you've got to be somewhere or that you're not supposed to pop in a
Yeah.
supermarket. And
Yeah.
then you're telling it no, because that's the only language that it knows. And of course, it's going to be, not accepting of that. Whereas actually, when you recognize that actually, it's, a toddler has just got no better way of communicating yet.
No,
It's not its fault. It's not a naughty child. It's not, it's just a child.
it is. And their brains are not fully formed yet. They're underdeveloped. So we're asking them to like stop crying, no, you can't have it. No, that's not, like, especially when you've got eyes on you in a like supermarkets.
Yeah. That's really the embarrassment of the
Oh my
fact that you've got
God.
eyes on you, isn't it? And so again, it's still your thoughts and feelings about that situation that you're the one in control at that point in time, isn't it?
Yeah. But you've got people cutting or you can feel the eyes burning you. And, a lot of people can't handle crying or shouting.
Mm.
And that's a reflection on them because they were probably never allowed to shout or scream, like,
Yeah.
be sent away to go to your room if you're going to do that. Come back to me when you're calm. I don't want to hear it. So it's very triggering to a lot of people.
Mhm.
And it is seen as naughty. But for me to be able to go, right, stop crying, stop now, like to be able to control their emotions, stop how they're feeling, or threaten, right, if you do this, you're not having that sweet, you're not going to, and they can learn to sort, as they get older, they can learn to sort of hold it. But as they're older, but as they're younger, they can't. It's, I'm a big believer in, like, with that toxic positivity, we're often rushed out of our feelings. Like, that's the best description I can have of toxic positivity. It's like, I feel like this, but no, I can't. I've got to be happy and I've got to put a brave face on. So when we're rushed through those emotions again, they get pushed down. And the minute we're, at home, or we're struggling with something, or we're overwhelmed, they come out so toxically and explosively because we've suppressed them for so long, and they're not waiting anymore. And they're trying to tell you something. They're trying to tell you that you haven't looked after yourself. You haven't, there's a thing inside me that needs to be heard, and I'm not staying silent anymore.
Mm.
And, you know, if, mm, you know, it's very hard to, especially as women, we've been brought up to be the good girl, and the people, be a good girl, know your place, be kind, and look out, treat others nicely. So when your kid's kicking off and other people are looking at you as if to say, sort your kid out. I don't want to be hearing that. Like, what an inconvenience. That feeling just goes, oh my God, I've got to do anything to shut you up because, I don't want to upset people. And it's it's a very toxic thing that we have to overcome. So it's much easier at home for me to let especially my youngest, scream. If I've said no, like I have strong boundaries for them and for me and for our family. We need them.
Mhm.
As I said, there's room for negotiation at times. But when I've said no, you are allowed to be sad and mad and upset about that. You're allowed. I'm not going to change my mind, but you are allowed to do that. And it's much easier to do that at home when you've not got eyes on you. But when my girls know that, and they can tell me that I want this and they can scream, and it's very triggering. I have to hold myself, and I have to hold all the parts of me that are going, she's disrespecting you. She's like all the inner critic, all the mean, all the like, the matron, all the different versions in your, the archetypes in your head that want her to conform and to be respectful and do what mummy said.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it's a muscle that we have to work, and it's something that we have to keep working on, and we're not going to get it right.
Mm.
The Shouty Mums Club, like, that's the other thing. I don't want mums to be calm and passive and
Mhm.
just be like, "Okay, darling, I don't want that. I want anger is a gift, but healthy anger. I'm allowed to be angry about things. It's healthy. We need all of our emotions to have a full human experience. Anger, sadness. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be frustrated, and to talk about that in a healthy way and not have it shut down. Just get over it. God, other people have got it worse than you. Like,
All this
that is
stuff together.
such bullshit. Yeah. And but because you get shamed for having negative emotions. I don't believe in negative emotions. I believe in, toxic ones, because we've not ever been able to really experience them fully. But healthy anger is great, because I want my girls to know to be passionate about something, to have, I want to do this, and or to stand up for themselves, or
Mm.
to voice their opinion. But if I keep shutting that down and saying, no, no, be quiet, be kind, like, all right, that's it, go to your room, I don't want to see you. And like, I'm teaching them that one, their behavior is love is conditional. Like, I'm only going to really accept you fully if you're a quiet, good girl.
Mhm.
And I don't know about, well, I do know about you, but as women, we get brought up to be the good girl. So the good girl syndrome is really, really toxic. And there are people that benefit from us from being good girls and not rocking the boat and not having the confidence to say, actually, I'm worth more than this, or I'm not happy with that. And so, yeah, but it's terrifying, because if my child feels that our connection, our attachment, so attachment is spelled LOVE in a child's mind, like, if mummy doesn't love me when I act like this, then she sends me away, then I'm going to suppress that part of me, and I'm not going to do that anymore. Which means that their authenticity, the true essence of who they are, is being suppressed. And there are gifts in there. There's no two sides to every coin. There's like the confidence of, of a 4-year-old really wanting something, and the I couldn't give a shit what you want. I want this, and like the arrogance of it is the other side of it. But it's the balance, isn't it? We need to have balance with everything we do, and it's so hard to do that when we're not in our right frame, where we can't see that their passion is actually, there's a reason for it, and it's probably because I haven't been able to do anything at school that day that they've wanted to do, 'cause it's break time, blah, 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 blah. So I've gone off on one there. I've lost my
No,
train.
no. No, but I think again, you're absolutely right with that, and the fact that their anger is a gift, and one thing that I always found is that, and again, it's however you're talking to humans. If they're in a heightened state of emotion, shouting at somebody, telling them to stop, whatever. They're not listening. They've not got their listening heads and ears
Can't
on at that
receive
point
it.
in time. No, they can't
No.
receive it because that's just how again, our brains work because they're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, whatever it might be. Their defense mechanisms are up. And so sometimes, and that's where it can come into, like say, turn into the chaos if we then add that to the mix, ourselves, because then you end up with two parties not listening to each other. And that's how arguments are created ultimately.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if we again create that pause, allow the emotion, as long as it's safe to do so, obviously, because again,
Yeah.
sometimes kids can be destructive, and that's obviously a very different scenario that's obviously difficult to deal with. But I like then a good debrief after,
Super.
so,
When they can receive it, when
yeah,
they're
when they
listening.
can receive
Yeah,
it and everything
absolutely.
like that. So again, the old adage of pick your battles. So it doesn't mean that the battle is lost or won, but so rather than, and that's why again, it just felt like for me, like I've never needed to parents. It's not that we've never had to have discussions and chats, but it's always been very much since, let's say, since coaching, probably coach her more through
Yeah, well,
through
that
her emotions, through life, through the
yeah,
situation, rather than like, right, do this, do that, do the other,
yeah,
which where I was heading, and that's when I think you can sometimes have a difficulty in the teenagers. And like you say, it's not about not having boundaries and not having, but it was sort of having that clarity around who we were going to be as a unit as well.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And I love that. And it's like in those moments. So I work in metaphors quite a lot. So, but being that like palm trees in a storm, they kind of go with the storm as
Mhm.
opposed to like a rigid tree that's like, that tree gets weakened and broken. But the
Mhm.
palm tree actually gets its resilience from the roots. It digs
Yeah.
down. It knows the storm's going to pass. It knows that this is not personal. It knows it's just a season, a moment in time. And so if we can try and remember to be that palm tree a bit more, that resilience to go with this, go, okay,
Mhm.
just breathe, say nothing, just breathe and just try and get out of your head what the story is and into your heart space. And remember that this is a little person going through something. Clearly something has gone wrong. So maybe someone's been rude to them. Maybe they've just not had time. Maybe something's happened. Maybe they didn't eat their snack or their lunch because they were so excited to go out and play and then they're hungry. Like
Mhm.
there's so many different factors, much like us, like it becomes a stacking, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
you've worked too late on something, you stayed up too late last night, you've not been eating the right foods, you've not been, drinking enough water, you've not done all the things that you need to be fully grounded in your body and to have that headspace. So in those moments, it's knowing that this is going to pass. This is going to pass. And that's one of the things that I like the mantra is when it's all kicking off and I can feel myself going, it's like, I have to be the parent here. I have to have that boundary with myself and say, I'm the parent. If I feel like I'm getting triggered, that's something to do with me.
Mhm.
It doesn't help. Like, it's not to shame anyone to say, like, if you keep losing your shit, it's
Yeah.
just awareness. That's why the Conscious Mums Club is so important to me because, as I said, that level of, as you said, like, as soon as you started being more aware of why you were doing the things you were doing and how much of the responsibility we have and the influence we have on our children. Like we don't want to repeat these cycles. We want to give them a legacy of love and empowerment and knowing their worth. Because if they know their worth and they know what respect is and that they know what to do when they're struggling, they are gonna when somebody is rude to them or someone is disrespecting them, they're gonna know that that is a red flag. They're gonna know that hang on a minute, because if they don't know where unconditional love is, they start looking for it in the wrong places as
Mhm.
they grow. As friends and peers and like especially like partners, boyfriends, girlfriends when they're older, they're going to look for, oh, you understand me, you get me, but they might miss the red flags because they're getting what they think is unconditional love. So we have to really teach them what they're worth, and
Mhm.
that's hard to do when we don't know what our worth is. We
Yeah.
don't know how to fully express and communicate and deal with our emotions that have been stored and trapped in. So it's really important. I'm very, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this, but I don't want to pass my shit on to my kids. And
Yeah.
want, as you said, what do I want I want parenting to feel good. I want to have that connection with them. And so too many times parenting doesn't feel good, and that shame and guilt that comes with it is so painful. And then the things that we do as punishment, like, drink more wine, we'll eat, bad food, or we'll want like the more unhealthy things that we know that
The cravings and urges, because you're trying to get rid of the feelings ultimately.
like, as this exactly, which is exactly where your work is. It's because we're trying to numb out from these feelings of not being good enough, of the shame of losing your shit again, or feeling like a bad mum because you didn't handle the situation wonderfully, and you're comparing yourself to that person on Instagram who's perfect, who only ever shows how wonderful life is, which is absolute bullshit. But it still doesn't, we know it, but we still compare ourselves to it, and we just feel like everyone else has got it together except us. And then what happens is, we're upset because we've put on weight, we're upset because we've not got good sleep, we're tired, we're oversugared, we're undernourished, and we haven't made time for ourselves, so we haven't got good sleep, and then the next day starts off like, and it's
Just a vicious cycle.
it is. It is.
Yeah. And I think as well, the good thing with this work as well is that, then those sort of communication things that we we're talking about there, and being conscious about yourself, because it's about realizing, it's about taking unfettered ownership for yourself, really. And that once you do that, other people around you start to see that and take that on board as well. So it has that ripple effect. And also as well, if you can take a step back, not only when you're dealing with your kids, but your partners, people at work, whoever you touch on your day job, all of that knocks in. And it's the same with what I do with the food. This is why for me, food and life go together. They're not separated. That's what diets do, is a diet will focus on food and how you move, whereas actually it's how life all goes together. Hence why I have fabulous gifts, like guests and gifts. You're still a gift. You're always a gift,
Well,
that.
100%. You're totally right.
Yeah. It's great. Because one of the things that, nice little segue there, thanks, Cathy. One of the things I said to Cathy is, do you mind if I mention the fact that I actually gave a belief coding session to Cathy as part of my accreditation process? She was the face of my final accreditation video. The star that is. It was a beautiful session, and we won't go into vast details, but I do remember that one of the things that we coded in was, I am a gift.
I am a gift. Like, and look, there's part of me that really didn't want to believe that. Like, because I'm a gift, like, and that's the thing with affirmations. Like, they don't always, you can say affirmations till you're blue in the face, but it's very hard to receive them sometimes if you haven't actually got to the core reason why that's hard for you to accept. And what I loved about the belief coding was that you do a whole session on, how you physically react to something. And the before and after was like insane, how it's like, or what is it, the compass? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so we use kinesiology to test various different parts of it. So the belief coding's a combined modality. It's got some NLP in, which Cathy's trained in kinesiology, emotion. There's all sorts of stuff.
But everything.
There's
The
stuff.
whole thing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
it's an absolutely amazing process, but it allows you to effectively tap into a previous memory and then heal that moment. And like I say, if you were doing affirmation work, it would take, you can do it with affirmations and belief and actions, speaking louder than words and changing your beliefs by your actions. But it is a longer process, whereas belief coding, we go straight into where it was created. So like with Cathy was saying, that if you've got a situation where you are triggered by your kids in some way, shape or form, that's because it's reminding you subconsciously about something that happened to you or when you were a kid or whatever. And belief coding takes you perhaps back to that memory, and then we effectively heal that moment so that the emotional charge is gone and so the reactions aren't then the same going forward. But it's just a beautiful process. So I love the facilitations.
It's a game changer. It's a real game changer. And what is so good is that you held my hand through it all and you were immensely patient and making sure that we had, that I'd fully grasped it and I knew what I wanted the outcome to be, what I wanted to code in, what I wanted to actually believe. And that is why, you know, I was because if I was wanting to take action in my life, but I kept like not being able to. I kept like coming up against something, and I had this real sort of, I think, a fear of failure, a fear of success, and it's one that has come up in many forms, and I've healed many versions of it. But I think this was one that I really wanted to, I really want to heal that for myself. I really want to reach as many shouting mums and mums that are drowning in motherhood. I want to be able to do that. So for me to be able to show up and talk about it, I need to be, have all parts of me. And what that belief coding session gave me was that it reminded me, it took me to a place where I was able to literally heal how I perceived that moment and gave myself what I needed, which was ultimately it's my unconditional love and acceptance. But the process of how we do that was so, so lovely. And yeah, I think anyone thinking about doing it, anyone thinking not on the fence, like not sure, it's like phase your girl, like she's gonna help you do that. It's a stunning framework, but Faye is an absolute stunning practitioner and she knows her shit. She knows her shit, and she's an absolute gift. She's fucking
Blessed.
and yeah. But yeah, if you're not sure, have a call with Faye because it will literally change the game, and you'll be able to do things that you didn't, know was possible. So
This is just turning into, no, you're wonderful. No, you're wonderful. You're wonderful. You're the best. No, you are. You are. But it says but the thing is, what I will actually say is that Cathy has been on literal fire since. And so we mentioned it before we started recording that actually Cathy has got a workshop coming up, haven't you, Cathy? And obviously, if you are watching this in however many years' time, still come back because I'm sure Cathy will be running something else amazing. Likewise, I'm currently running a free challenge as well, which is about cracking the code on food freedom, which is then going to lead into a belief coding course for anybody who wants to partake. But yeah, my Cathy here has been literally on fire since that. So tell everybody a little bit about your webinar, what you've got coming up, and a little bit more about where they can find you.
Yes. So you can find me at the Conscious Mums Club on Instagram. You can find me at CathyWatsonCoaching.com is my website. And I have got a workshop coming up on the 21st of March at 7:45 p.m. And in the workshop, the workshop is called How to Stop Losing Your Shit 222 Times a Week. And I'm basically, there are people out there that are going to say, I can help you to stop losing your shit. You'll never lose your shit again. You'll never shout again. And I don't want that again. I don't want passive, totally calm, not with it parents that don't know what boundaries are. Like I want to help. Sorry, I've lost my train. But I want to help you to be conscious. That's what I want. I want you to become conscious that why are you losing your shit so many times in the week? Why is that happening? And how can we help heal that? So we were healing your shit so you stop losing your shit. And so that you can pass on a different legacy for your children and their children, a legacy of love and self-worth. It has to come from us. So on this workshop, I'm talking about, about regulation and how you can find your calm in the chaos in that moment, how you can be that palm tree that goes with the storm and know that it's going to pass. But also, I do want to talk about the dangers of regulation, that if we regulate ourselves too much, we're ultimately pushing down these emotions. So it's a lot of, because I want to educate you. I want to, you don't know what you don't know. So I'm trying to let you know what you don't know so you can make your own mind up. But this is all leading up to launch the membership that I'm going to have. So the membership is going to be a space where lost, overwhelmed, shouty mums can come and fully process their emotions. We don't have time as busy mums to actually process the emotions. But we feel like, you know, um, we've been holding everybody else together. We've been been holding ourselves. We've not lost our shit. We've done really well, or we've lost our shit, and we're like feeling shame and guilt for it. Like, this is a safe space where nobody's going to judge you for for losing your shit or for words that you said that you didn't mean. But it is about teaching how to repair. If we have lost our shit, how do we repair that? How do we let our kids know that that wasn't about you? That was about mummy. Mummy wasn't doing her big breaths, belly breaths, and mummy, because we don't want our kids to internalize that they are the reason that mummy shouts, that we are the reason, they are bad or wrong, because as we know, that's where limiting beliefs are born. And this is the work we're doing right now, like that you're doing and I'm doing, to go back and to, repair and heal those beliefs that we made when we were very small in the imprint stage of the brain. And so if I can help mums to actually have a safe space where they can come, like, self-care, we've been taught, is, a bubble bath and like having your nails done and your hair done and your lashes done. And that's great. And, and I have nails done and all the rest of it. I love that. But I make sure that I take care of what's underneath my hood, what's actually going on underneath. And that's the best self-care I think we can have, because no one else is going to do it for us. No one's coming to save us. No one's coming to make us calm. And no one else can. My kids can't. They're not responsible for my happiness or my calm, my peace. My husband isn't. My friends aren't. My family aren't. It's my job. It's my responsibility. And I want to help mums to learn what that looks like, because we haven't been taught how to, hold our emotions or even feel them. But because we do have to feel it to heal it, unfortunately. It'd be nice if we didn't have to. It'd be nice if we can just, push a button and not have to deal with it. But our emotions are gifts and they are going to set us free. So if I can, so that space is for mums to come and express how they feel and to figure out what is underneath all of this. And then, that's going to be like a 2 calls a month on Zoom. I'm really excited about it. I'm really passionate about it, as you can tell. And I'm going to tell everyone about it at the workshop on the 21st. And if anyone knows of any shouty mums, if anyone's lost or overwhelmed or, forgotten who they are, because I think that's the biggest thing. We forget who we are, and we become that shouting mum. We become that, sad mum. We become that dissociated mum where we just think, I can't do this anymore. I don't care anymore. Give me another glass of wine. I don't care. Whatever. Like, we get disconnected to who we are, and we get disconnected to our children and to the world. And so this is a place where we can connect to all the parts of us, and the parts that aren't always so readily shared or talked about. This is the safe space to do that, because I think we need it, because those emotions are coming out. They're going to come out whether you choose to do it in a healthy, sort of supported way where you're not going to be shamed, or they're going to come out when you are overwhelmed, stressed, #mumlifed. You're in this, they're going to come out either way. So surely, the better way to do it is in this space where you can do it supported.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's obviously a lot of places where mamas can go to have a chat and have a rant, a lot of groups, and I'm not knocking those, but sometimes when you get in certainly ridiculously large groups, and if they're not did very well, then sometimes again there can be a lot of poor advice, toxic actions going in, still some judgment and shame being thrown in there by people. And so these, like I say, is being choosing where you want to be, isn't it? In terms of, and it's the same in the weight loss space, really. There's a lot of places that you can go, but it's about deciding as to whether those are places that are truly supportive and make you feel good, or whether you want to join a more exclusive membership such as mine for, if you're working on your food and mum life, and it would be Cathy and or both, because I do think they go together. I think that they kind of each other nice, because again, a lot of the mamas that I would help, that they're ultimately perhaps turning to food, like you say, because of the fact that, mum life, exactly like you say, and really anything on the outside, whether that be the shouting, whether that be food, whether that be wine, it is just a reflection of your inside, and both of us are there to work with that, isn't it? And that's the beauty of what we do, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
When you do the work, and I think the thing as well is it doesn't have to be big scary work either, does it? Because I think sometimes oh God, I've got enough to do. I don't have to want to do the work as well.
And I think mums are very, we're very intuitive. Like we're more intuitive than we know. We know that there's something there that's a bit painful. We know that something there's a bit shameful that, or, and ultimately that not enoughness that I think we all feel, it's only below the surface. And sometimes think, oh, I don't want to touch that. But we're not just going to we're not going to head first dive into it. That's the beauty of doing it in the groups, and I do offer obviously one-to-ones and we can, work on something specific together. But the beauty of the group is that we're all in this together. It's a journey. We're all sharing our experiences. That me, as I talked about with the me too, that feeling of like not alone,
normalizing, like you said earlier,
and that takes the shame out of it. Like we can, I would take mum guilt over mum shame every day of the week because there is growth in guilt. The guilt is shit. I shouldn't have done that. I can do better. There's growth in that. Shame is I've done something wrong. I am wrong. It's me. It's my fault. And when you hear other people are feeling the same, it's like, it's a lifeline. That is an absolute gift to go, not just me. And you'll be able to pull yourself out. And that's what, that's the community that I want. That's the safe space that I want. That is the connected place where we can show up in all of our fuckedness, messed upness, because we're all like, we're all like, we're all struggling with different things. Just some people talk about it and some people don't. But the only way to, heal that part and to have a better relationship with ourselves, because as we've been talking about, all relationships stem from the one that we have with ourselves. The one we have with food, the one we have with our partner, with our kids, with money, with, self-esteem, with confidence. It all stems from the one you have with yourself. So if you are able to show up and be honest and be vulnerable about how you're feeling, where you're at, and understand where that's coming from, because 9 times out of 10, these beliefs and these stories you made up, they're not true. They're not even yours. They're somebody else's. So if we can go back and actually put the truth in, that you are absolutely amazing, you're capable, you are allowed to be sad and mad and feel your feelings, and the relief and the freedom from that, the actual breathing space that gives you, just as game changing. And I will, I'll advocate for this work forever because of that.
So
to be who you actually are.
Yeah, absolutely the same. And I think as well as it's remembering for anybody who may or may not be, like skeptical about this or saying that they don't, it's not going to work or I don't need it. It's just remembering that actually that this is all still running, because this is all about work. This is all about subconscious stuff, really. And that all of these things are running underneath, and you just either might be ignoring them, denying them, or, so whereas you sort of say, oh, well, I can't, I haven't got time for that. Or the thing is, if you don't make time, like you say, all of a sudden you'll have to make time because that program is running, whether you want it to or not, unless you change it. So
you can't unrun it because it's part of you. And it's loving and accepting that the belief that you had, or that belief kept you safe, or it gave you something.
Yeah, or it had a purpose.
It had a purpose at the time, but the problem with the imprint stage is it gets locked in if it's not challenged, if it's not repaired, or there's no evidence for anything else. Like, mummy, I'm bad because mummy, I keep making mummy shout, or, food is the only comfort food is always there for me. It's never going to, and it is like, food is one of those things, as is wine and TV and your phone, like that's one in the phone. If you want to numb out, it does exactly what it says on the tin, as does alcohol, as does drugs. Every form of addiction will numb you out. But it's the point of, becoming conscious of like, why am I doing this? Because all of those things will give you what they want. They'll do exactly what they say on the tin. The amount of times during lockdown that I went to the fridge for chocolate, I literally wore out the floor. I think I was just constantly, because I was trying to find that comfort. I was trying to find, because I felt so uncomfortable. Like, we all thought, that COVID was a terrible time for everyone. We was all scared and anxious and not know what to do. So we're looking for that comfort, but it's being able to parent ourselves in that moment and know we have a choice in that moment. But sometimes when we're doing it subconsciously, when we're doing it or unconsciously, we're not awake to it. And that's what we want to do. We want to become awake to it. So champion of the work that you do, I think it's amazing. And, I do something similar, different horses.
Different niche, as it says, niche, niche or niche, but niche.
Niche. I love the way you say it. Niche. Someone put it in niche. for a niche.
And in America, some places, and it
Yeah, niche.
more over here. And then, like I say, I've just added the niche. I think it's because it's the march to Rodney. It's that because I've got terrible earworms. We could go to films and music and sayings. In fact, I said it earlier in a team meeting. Somebody said something, and I then put on a
Listen to song.
And that now the person used to use like it's out of brave. I just can't help it. It's a condition I've got.
It's beautiful. Don't ever change. I love it. We need more joy. We need more fun in our lives.
Take it or leave it. And that's again the beauty of coaching is, getting to that space where you do, unconditionally accept yourself is beautiful. So it doesn't mean that there isn't work to do and that you can't do, change things, but just that sort of self-acceptance that life is what it is. I am what I am. I can change things if I want to. I can keep them saying it's my choice, I'm the one that's in control. So
we're mums. We make shit happen. We make shit happen. We just have to know why we do the things we do, and then we can unlearn them.
You want to keep it, or everything goes. Stay as you are. Change, don't change. Go back. It's all up to you at the end of the day. I'm conscious of time. That
I know we're doing really well.
Start doing some mum duties. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, as I knew it would be. So, like I say, make sure that you check out in and around the descriptions wherever you are catching us live, on replay, podcast, YouTube, whatever's. Be sure to check out my Crack the Code challenge that's going on. Be sure to check out Cathy's website and webinar that she's got going on, because it's going to be awesome. And we will see you again. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you want to boost your life and weight loss the AAA way, check out the relevant links for today's show in the description. Speak soon.